I believe it was William Shakespeare who once wrote that the fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves, that we were underlings. And while I can respect Shakespeare's philosophy on that, sometimes the fault is in our stars, as proven by the book The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. I actually read The Fault in Our Stars for the first time about a year ago, but I didn't have a book channel back then, so I couldn't do a review of it. And since the movie is coming out, I decided to reread the book, and after rereading it and falling in love with the characters and crying my heart out all over again, I thought, why not do a book review for my book channel now that I actually have one. So if you've managed to somehow sleep under a rock or live in Pennsylvania and have not heard of The Fault in Our Stars, basically it is about a girl named Hazel Grace Lancaster, who from the time she was 13 was diagnosed with thyroid cancer that now spread to her lungs, and now she has terminal cancer. She is pretty much on her way to death. There's just nothing that can really help her, although they have found this miracle drug called Elixir, I believe is how you pronounce it. Yeah, let's go with that. This has kind of helped slow the tumor growth rate in her, and it's really only given her more days. It hasn't given her a lifetime. Her mom thinks she's getting depressed because she only really stays at home, watches TV, and reads the book Imperial Infliction over and over again. She makes Hazel attend this support group, and at this support group one day, Hazel meets the amazing, incomparable, effervescent Augustus Waters, who is in remission from osteoserema, which I think is bone cancer, but I'm not quite sure. And instantly Gus is drawn to Hazel for starts major flirting with her, and the two embark on the most wondrous, tragic, inspiring, hopeful, but just gut-punching love story that you will ever read in this century or any other besides probably Romeo and Juliet. And that was a really sucky description because we've already established through various videos that I suck at describing books. But The Fault in Our Stars, it's different, it's contemporary, so it's not dystopian, but there's just a way that John Green writes that makes all his books sound so unique and so different. This is actually the first John Green book I read, and after reading it, I fell in love with him. He's just an awesome person. All his books are great. Hazel is definitely my favorite character out of all that he's written. She just has such a really funny and unique voice, and her outlook on life is just so indescribable. Like, you think she would be just this whiny, mopey kid and depressed like her mom does think she is, but she kind of really just realizes that life sucks and she isn't going to get as many days as she wants out of it, and because of that she kind of curls herself in and takes herself out of things because she wants to hurt the minimum amount of people when she does die, which that's really sad to think about, that Hazel kind of gives up her own life so she doesn't hurt those people when she does end up dying, which is martyry but then really like heroic at the same time because she's really taking a sacrifice for these people that she loves. Gus, on the other hand, is the complete opposite. His whole goal is he wants to leave a mark on the world, and he fears oblivion, basically, that his name will just be another shout into the void and no one will ever remember him. And the whole story is them kind of changing each other and learning that Hazel is okay with maybe adding another person into who she's gonna hurt, and that Gus is okay with not everyone remembering him. And I think that's a really good concept because I think a lot of people do fear oblivion. Like Gus, they fear not being remembered, that they're just here one moment and then gone the next, and no one will ever remember who they were, what they did, and they'll never make an impact on human society. But Gus has a really good line in the end. He says, "The marks humans leave are too often scars. You build a hideous minimal or start a coup or try to become a rock star, and you think they'll remember me now, but A, they don't remember you, and B, all you leave behind are more scars. Your coup becomes a dictatorship, your minimal becomes a legion." And I really like that because I think it's true that before you think that this book gets all philosophical and mopey-dopey on your ass, it is actually a really sweet story of two teenagers falling in love. The hard part about reviewing this book for the non-spoiler people is that there is a big spoiler that I can't give away or else it'll completely ruin the book for you. So I'm going to switch over to the spoilery section right now. So if you're one of the probably 5 people in the world who haven't read The Fault in Our Stars, I'm telling you now, you're probably not going to want to watch the rest of this video because it's going to have spoilers, including the mega major big spoiler that you probably may have already heard of even if you haven't read the book. So if you have, go ahead and watch it. More the merrier. But if you don't know what I'm talking about with the big spoiler and you're like, what is she talking about? And you haven't read the book yet, don't watch the rest of this video until you have read it, which you totally should go do now. Just know that the book is really good. It'll make you cry, but it'll make you smile, and it'll just make you really like inspired and like I have to go do something with my life, it's gonna be okay. We'll get through it together, okay? So thank you for stopping by, but if you haven't read the book, I'll see you later. Now obviously the biggest spoiler is who ends up really dying in this book. We all think it's going to be Hazel based on the way the book is written, the description, and how it's from Hazel's point of view. We see her kind of break down, her body just getting worse and worse, and then it turns out that Gus is the one that dies, and that was just a sucker punch to the face, let's be honest. I couldn't believe it, and I couldn't believe how quickly it happened. I knew that it was happening because I ended up looking up what happened before, because books like this that are really, really sad, I have to know what happens. So I looked it up and I saw that Gus ended up dying, and I was like, that is really sad, but I would never have seen that coming. And then I just kind of forgot about the book for a while until they said that they were making it a movie. I was like, I should probably check this book out before the movie comes out so then I can get like a good hold on it before everyone starts loving it because of the movie. So I checked it out, and I have to admit that it was not as sad as I thought it was going to be. Like, don't get me wrong, it's definitely sad. It just didn't make me as sad because I knew what was happening with Gus. Reading it though, it's definitely sad because you forget parts, and you forget just how quickly Gus turns out that he has cancer and is dying, because he goes from perfectly healthy and fine to just dead in basically a couple months, and it's horrifying to think of, but that's the truth for a lot of people who have family members or friends that have cancer or who have cancer themselves. It's just you're fine one day and then all of a sudden you're not. And I really like that we also get the hint kind of that Hazel isn't going to make it forever, which I know John Green talked about. Isaac is kind of, because he's blind, he's like the Greek tragedies where the blind person is kind of the only one alive to tell this story. So we know that Hazel and Gus are probably going to end up together in the big capital S somewhere that Gus believes in. And I really just love their love story. Like I said in the beginning of this video, there's nothing that's comparable to it except for probably Romeo and Juliet, because I've never been so rooting for such a tragic love story. And it's weird because it's tragic yet hopeful. It gives you kind of inspiration. I think with Hazel's whole thing about how they didn't have a lot of days together, but the amount of love that they had in them is more than some people get in a lifetime. I really relate to Gus's whole thing about fearing oblivion, because I've always feared oblivion as well, that like I want to leave my mark on the world, I want people to remember me, but Hazel realizes that we're just as likely to hurt the world as we are to help it. So with Gus kind of realizing that it's okay, maybe even more important, that I'm special to just a few people than the whole entire world like he wants to be. And I think that's a really, really strong topic. There are so many like deeper meanings and topics to this book that I would never have seen. All the characters are just so well developed. Hazel's parents and Gus's parents, I love each of them individually. Together they are so cute. They're so unlike parents we get in young adult and literature nowadays, because they're actually cool and with it, and they're different. Hazel's dad is actually open to crying and being sad and all that, and her mom is kind of the one that's like, you can't cry in front of her, and that's reverse. And then Gus and his parents, they actually like each other. It's not where the kids are like, ugh, to the parents. They like each other. They have good relationships, but they're not perfect. They have their moments, their weaknesses, their fights, their arguments, all that stuff. And I really like that, because that is how human emotions work. Nothing is perfect 100% of the time, but nothing is horrible 100% of the time either. It's a balance, and I really, really love Hazel's whole thing about not wanting to hurt anyone and how that kind of keeps her back from Gus, because I feel like it's understanding. And I know like a lot of people are just annoyed. They're like, come on Hazel, he's so gorgeous, just kiss him. But then I think after she learns all about his ex-girlfriend Caroline and how she kind of hurt him and was just abusive to him almost because it was her cancer that was doing it, I think that added to her pain. But then after everything that happened in Amsterdam, she let down all her barriers. I like that it happened before Gus told her his cancer had come back. I know a lot of people see it as a duplicity on his part and may not like it, but I just really thought that it was good because it gave Hazel the chance to be okay with it without realizing that she might outlive Gus. Anytime Augustus and Isaac had a scene, I loved it so much. Like the trophy breaking was awesome. The egg throwing was just great. Augustus is such a good friend, I feel like, and Isaac is like his one true friend because he gets that like he doesn't love basketball and all that, and I think he really understands him. And his speech at the end, oh my gosh, there are only like a couple parts that I really bawled my eyes out in this. That was one of them, the pre-funeral. The part that really got me was when Gus called her from the gas station wanting his cigarettes, and she came and was like, Gus, we have to do something about this, like just not sure what to do because she's sick herself. Like she's like, I can't take care of him like a healthy, normal girlfriend would. I need help with this. And he looks at her and he's like, you used to call me Augustus. And that just wounded me so much because John Green explained that like he was kind of up on this pedestal as like this healthy, charismatic kid to Hazel, and then once he was not healthy no longer and we kind of saw that he wasn't as charismatic and he couldn't have the energy to be himself anymore, she kind of not like lowered her perception of him, but he was no longer this perfect specimen that was above her in her eyes, so she called him Gus. And I think it was subconscious on Hazel's part. I 100% believe it was, but it was definitely an important switch in the characterization, and it was just, oh my gosh, I don't know what else to say about this book. It's really, really sad. Like, if you haven't read it, don't be afraid just because it's sad. I know some people are like, I don't want to read a book about two kids with cancer. It's so sad, but it's so uplifting at the same time that you will not regret reading it. Of course, there are also happy moments in this, like in Amsterdam when they go and drink their champagne and have their cute little date and they play on Funky Bones. So although there are sad moments, it's happy, it's funny, and I'm just really, really excited to see it on the big screen. I don't know how it's going to go, if I'm going to love it or just hate it or be about it, but I really, really like the book. I liked it the first time I read it, and it's even better the second time. So I would give the book 5 out of 5 stars. It's absolutely phenomenal. It is my second favorite John Green book. Hazel and Gus are definitely my favorite characters, but I like It's for Catherine's better. That's my favorite John Green book. So if you haven't read that book, check that one out. Fault in Our Stars is definitely really good, and I can't wait to see what John Green's gonna write next. It's just indescribable, this book. You read the summary and you think it sounds really, really sad, and it is sad, but it's not. There's witty moments and just Hazel looking at life through this cynical glass that's not depressed, even though her mom thinks it is. All the relationships are perfect. All the characters are perfect. Isaac, Hazel, Gus, her parents, his parents. The way it's written in real talk. It is how we really talk. One of my favorite lines to show this is when Gus is just talking and then all of a sudden he's like, wait, how old are the twins? Oh, 25. Like, I just love the little interjections in how we talk like that in real conversations. I think John Green is a phenomenal writer, and this definitely got me hooked on John Green's books, so I will always be indebted to it for that. And if you have friends who have not read The Fault in Our Stars, this is what you have to do, okay? Give them the book, and then they read it, and they're like, oh, this sounds sad. I'm not sure if I want to read it. And then you say, no, it sounds sad, but don't worry, she recovers, because look. And then you turn to the last page, and you show them the last 2 lines, and you say, see, they get married at the end. It's not sad, and you trick them, and then you watch as they bawl their eyes out, and they realize this is what really happens. I might sound mean, but they deserve it for waiting this long to read Fault in Our Stars. So thank you all for watching. I'm Miranda, and I will see you next time, okay? Okay.